This question is also from one of my students in Achei, and it follows the question that I just did about the idea that in Chabad there seems to be an attitude of putting other people before yourself. This is the inverse image of that question. What is the source in Torah to support the view of only giving to others once you've helped yourself first? And then he gave an example, which I give in my classes. The classic example would be the need to put on your own oxygen mask before helping someone else on an airplane, which is a very great analogy. When you get on an airplane, so there's a whole bunch of instructions that they repeat, and one of them is that if the air pressure in the cabin will drop, an oxygen mask will drop from above your seat. Pull towards yourself, put it over your nose and mouth, strap it around your neck, and breathe normally. Then they say if the bag doesn't fill, don't worry, the oxygen is flowing. And then they'll say if you're with a child, first put on your own mask and then put on the mask of your child. Now, this is a counterintuitive piece of instruction, which is why it's given, because most people want to save somebody else first, especially their child. And the message that's being given is you're no use to your child if you're out cold. You can't help your child if you fainted because you're not able to breathe. So first help yourself. And the helping of yourself for the sake of helping somebody else. So that idea is really part of helping another person. The putting on your oxygen mask first is not about you. It's about the other person. It's about the world. But as far as this question of not being a mashpia to others until you mashpia to yourself, there's so many Mamarei Chazal to this effect. Ksheit atzmecha v'achacha ksheit achedem. The word ksheit means make yourself beautiful. But the word ksheit also means make yourself true. Before you can make somebody else beautiful and true, you have to make yourself beautiful and true. And there's also Mamarei Chazal that speak about the idea of who are you, when you say to somebody else, till kissim mi bein shinecha, take a little spindle out between your teeth. A person has a small chesed, and that person responds by saying, Tol keir mi bein shinecha, you're telling me that I should correct my chesreinis, my flaws, my iniquities, my deficiencies, when yours are far greater and deeper. And these are just two examples of many where Torah speaks to the idea that first you have to be a mensch yourself, and then you can make somebody else into a mensch. And of course the logic to that is, because the more credibility you have, the more credibility your words have, and the more effective your hashpah is. And of course, nobody wants to be a hypocrite. Nobody wants to be a phony where I'm demanding of others things that I don't demand of myself. And this, of course, is all in addition to the simple truth that I, as an individual, I'm a servant of God, and as such I have to work on my own service. There's the famous Shir HaKerem in Sefer Yeshaya that speaks about a man who has a vineyard and he's supposed to look after it, and instead he's busy worrying about everybody else's vineyard. And he says very emotionally, Karmi shali le notarti, I fixed the whole world, but my own kerem, my own vine, I failed to fix. And the previous rebbe quoted that pasuk speaking about himself, even in Russia yet, Karmi shali le notarti, that he was so busy with ideas in Yiddishkeit that were not the department of a rebbe, which is Chabad and Chassidus and Pnimius and Achei Temimim, that he had to neglect his own Karmi shali le notarti, I failed to tend my own garden. And of course, the Rebbe brings the Vart of Rechanan ben Zakkai, who said, I don't know where I'm going to Gan Eden, I'm going to Gehenna, which is, of course, incredibly severe for a Jew who's Mem Shana Lama, the Mem Shana Lima, the Mem Shana Nagas Yisrael. 20 years he learned, 20 years he taught, 40 years he learned, 40 years he taught, and 40 years he was a Nasi Yisrael, and he doesn't know if he's going to Gan Eden or to Gehenna. And there's a variety of different explanations. And one of them is, the one that the Rebbe brings in the L'Siyum B'Shakela, is that he was so busy doing his job, he never stopped to ask himself what Hashem expects of him. And a person can spend their whole lives busy being makar of other people, and they wake up one day and they said that what they were meant to do, they never got around to. And I believe that when the Rebbe said that Maimed in Tafshin Beis, L'Siyum B'Shakela, it was about a year after he became Rebbe. And the Rebbe was extraordinarily emotional. The Rebbe cried so much in that Maimed that he literally put his head down on the table. The Rebbe was talking about himself. He realized that because of the generation, he would have to put aside whatever it is he needed to do for himself, because he had a responsibility to the generation. And as a Rampen, in a small, tiny way, the Rebbe makes a similar demand of us. So it is out of order. It is out of order. And it does defy a variety of Maimorei Chazal that seem to speak to the contrary about the idea of a person putting himself first and then thinking about somebody else. But I'm not an open-minded Chabadnik. I don't see things both ways. I believe that if you would ask the Rebbe about his approach to what seems to be putting others before yourself, he would say, first of all, what I said before, that when you're makad of somebody else, you're makad of yourself. And second of all, he would say they were living in times of pekuach nefesh. The Chazal say, the Rambam brings it lahalacha, that a person should avoid being a leader at all costs. He shouldn't be a rav, he shouldn't be a rosh yeshiva, he shouldn't be in a position of leadership. He should have a regular job where he could be the biggest Talmud Chacham, and he should shy away from leadership. That's halacha. But that's halacha only in normal times. In sha'is chayrim, in times when the world is literally falling to pieces. And since the Holocaust, that's the situation. And as much as it's getting better, it's getting worse. As much as there's more being done, there's so much more that still needs to be done. Vast majority of Jews in the world are not Shemei Torah mitzvah. And they can be reached. And they can be brought closer, one step at a time. With chavli aveses ava, with love, not with criticism, not with pointing out their faults and their flaws. They're not even going to understand what you're criticizing them about because they're so far away from Torah mitzvahs. It was their great-grandparents, maybe, and sometimes even more generations who actually knew what Shabbos was and Pesach was. So just b'chelev aveses ava, you can save these people who would otherwise be lost le'elamim. And that's at least a part of why, in the generations in which we live, this is the approach of the Rebbe. You have to put another person before yourself, because for you, it's zevach mishpacha, and for them, it's kiten shel mayim.